Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is June the 29th, 2023 on the ancient moon calendar and 2024 on the ancient sun calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity and according to the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this holy Congress. This is a sovereign living ancient, Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan Universal Court action. We are the sovereign living justices and Ego Sum Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminution nolo in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capite et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state from Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We're ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the earth-wide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are exercising the law and ruling and governing by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, living United States District for Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and titled beneficiaries for this cause for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign ascension. We've issued a universal creditor's affidavit for possession, liquidation, and custody over all land, all resources, both natural and national, all commerce, and all other property. We, the one true God nation, are not at war, and we hereby exercise all eternal, ancient, original, sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. The principles that we share are not our opinion. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these processes that we share are based on principles of stare decisis, res judicata, ancient positive supreme law for the land, long established in sovereign order. Erudite principles and processes for daily practical application to intelligently govern our vast estate every day is what our ancient ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments at earth. For this, we are grateful. This coming Sunday, I believe, is the start of our full moon fast for the month of July. Let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can see and note those dates. Islam. And for those who may or may not be aware of the benefits of our fast, we fast however we are led to fast. Some are led to fast from negative energies, which we do anyway. Others are led to fast from sweets or water. I'm sorry, not water, but coffee and things like that, sodas. Others are led to fast from meat and just eat fruits and vegetables. And then others are led to fast and just do water only for the entire 3 days. So the full moon is on the 3rd. So if you choose to, we know that some have still clan members who celebrate the 4th of July with food and things like that. So if you want to do your fast and back it up one day and do it the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and that way you can, however you choose to do it is completely up to you and your spirit, however the spirit leads you. But we do want to, at uh, unify and fast in some manner at all, so that we can continue to come together in the spirit realm and bring our energies together and calm our energies, and also remain in complete control over anything that has to do with our temple. And that's another thing that fasting does, is it assists us in maintaining mental control over our bodies and our temples and our appetites and our consciousness and our thoughts and all that has to do with us. So with that being stated, just a quick fact, ancient child's play did not allow us to call each other names, because our ancestors knew we didn't have names. So when we would attempt to call each other outside of our nobility, we got in trouble for that back in the day. Well, that came from ancient knowledge and ancient information. So with that being stated, fact number 2, each Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipt at Earth will be unique because of the sovereign autograph on the money. So for those who will be participating in governing where Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipts are concerned, each one that you issue will be different and unique, and we're going to go into that some more today. And then fact number 3, some people may not agree with this, but it's in the Biblios, and we saw examples of this in the last era. We have dominion over all man, persons, and names. And when we say man, we're not speaking in terms of gender. We're speaking in terms of species. So Romans, the 7th chapter, verse 1 says, "Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know law, how that the law hath dominion over a man as long as he liveth." So what's being stated here is, didn't we all know that the law, and we are the law, hath dominion over all man as long as he liveth? And proof of that is that, for example, we can look at the law of gravity. The law of gravity appears to have dominion over man as long as he liveth. There are some things about us that we still need to know, because not even gravity has authority and dominion over us. It's actually the other way around. We talked about that briefly previously, and we will be speaking more about our own science in the coming days and weeks. Islam. Now, why do we do the things that we're doing with regard to the processes? By the way, the previous statement that we just brought to light here, it says, "For I speak to them that know the law," is in alignment with what our Prophet Noble Jew Ali said. He said, "Go to them that know law." He was hoping we would figure it out, and we have, that we're the law, so we don't have to go to anyone else except each other to know that we, the law, have dominion over all of man and mankind as long as he liveth. As long as he liveth is important, because now they're differentiating between the living and the dead. Something to think about there. We have dominion over all living things. Yes, we have dominion over the dead. All we do is call some things to life, because the power of life and death is in our tongue. And things that should stay dead, we will let the dead bury the dead. Islam. And so regarding our processes, to include making the statements that all rise and stand and all of that, all of the in our court actions and things of that nature. Just one moment. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. Just one moment. We love to clean things up around here. And that's actually our job as we continue to stand and rise on our land. Is to get rid of just by minding our business, our national business, which is what we're doing. We're minding our national business, and automatically the earth, the frequencies rise. So know the law and receive the crown. Proclaim your lawful status. 2 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, verse 5. Now also, if anyone competes, he is not crowned unless he shall have competed lawfully. That was the hidden secret that we did not know, or we didn't remember, is that we must compete lawfully so that we receive the crown. And again, the crown is just a manifestation of who we already are. We have tons of crowns already, and all crowns belong to the heirs, indeed. So with that being stated, why do I bring these things up? Because the Biblios is a trust document, just like the Constitution is a trust document. And with the Constitution and the Biblios and all of our writings being trust documents on governing, we can use these in our documentation and all that has to do with us, and remember them, so that as we move forth, we cannot and will not be denied anything from our vast estate. And again, denial has everything to do with, do we know the process? Okay. So with that being stated, just one moment. So we only have a realized desire for things that exist. This next portion of what we're of our subject matter, we want to point some things out based on what we're doing, all that we're doing, and in alignment with the next moves and things that we're making together. We only have a realized desire for things that exist. We desire our unlimited vast estate because we know it exists through us, in us, for us, since time immemorial into perpetuity. The difference between desire and manifestation is how you deprogram and reprogram your thoughts. So when we think about things like Moorish Sovereign Delirium, we manifested Moorish Sovereign Delirium based on deprogramming from the last era and reprogramming ourselves into this era of knowing that everything belongs to the heirs, everything. And so with that being stated, the programming becomes thoughts. So it is important for us to continue to deprogram and reprogram our own thoughts. We are the only species that has the capacity to do so. Those who mimic our behaviors don't have the capacity to deprogram and reprogram themselves. So what do? They listen to what we say and what we state, and then they mimic it. And then it's up to us to know that, again, there was some babbling going on. That's what Babylon was those mimicking and pretending to be sovereign when they were not, and pretending to be alive when they were not. And so it is up to us to deprogram from the Babel system and reprogram our thoughts. The programs become thoughts, which becomes that which you speak about you. So the things that come out of our mouth always let others know how far along we are with the programming. Sometimes, and I'll just speak for myself. I have to catch myself and say, "Wait a minute, let me fix this word here or that word," you know, because the programming was major from the last era, and now that we've deprogrammed, we're just getting rid of the remnants of that, and we've put so many great and awesome words and processes and precepts and concepts in the place of what we were programmed from the last time that we deprogrammed ourselves. But you can't just deprogram. You have to put something valuable in the place of the previous programming. And so generally, if you listen to your own words, you will know who programmed you, whether you programmed yourself or whether someone else did it. And so will everyone who hears you speak. And I will state this for the record. The more publicly you speak, the more you will have victory over programming. The more you use your voice publicly to speak, even if it's just sitting at your domicile doing some videos and posting them, the more publicly you speak, the stronger the reprogramming of you reprogramming yourself will be, because you'll go back and listen to the things that you're saying, and then you'll say, okay, let me put this in ancient sovereign language. Let me make sure that my jurisdiction is correct. In other words, my lawful words or my right words are correct. And so thoughts precede the spoken spells that you cast and that you break, which then manifest your surroundings, starting with you. Change yourselves and your fortunes will change too. That is a precept that I heard from a modern European who did a video about how when the modern Europeans came here, they came here with different names and different clothing, and they really didn't have anything here. But just like with what we're doing right now, as they began to enact assimilation, in other words, they began to look at the Moors and see, okay, this is what they wear, this is what they do. They began to mimic those things, and it added something to them to mimic what we were doing. And so as we continue to, again, look back at what our ancestors did and bring forth all that our ancestors manifested so that we could see it, we already know that our fortunes have already changed. We realize now that everything belongs to us. And so, again, change yourselves and your fortunes will change too. The video that I saw was a very short, but it was a very eye-opening video about the modern Europeans and how they changed themselves to, they began to wear their hair the way we did, and they began to wear the clothing that we wore and all of that. And it changed the way they presented themselves, okay, or represented themselves. And it just, it's important that we know that to change from what we learned the last era into who we are now, it automatically causes our fortunes to go up and to increase, because we know who we are now. Stay the same and your fortunes will stay the same too. The words you and jurisdiction have the same definition. So when we're talking about changing, when we say change yourselves, that means change jurisdictions that where you program yourself to the ancient jurisdiction, knowing that you're not, even if you go to an inferior court, it's still on your land and you're still the law. As long as we keep our location in mind as we demonstrate, no matter who's saying what, as long as we know where we are and who we are, we will always be in control. And when I say in control first of us and where we are, and then also in control of the words and the language that's being used. So jurisdiction and you cannot be separated. We are our own sovereign jurisdiction. And because we are our own sovereign jurisdiction, it doesn't matter where we go. Our jurisdiction is still going to be the same. Okay? So with that being stated, any separation in the last era, any enacted separation, was based on your thoughts or our thoughts about who we thought we were. When we thought that we were, when we enacted thinking that we were Negro, Black, Colored, African American, and U.S. citizens, that was the enacted jurisdiction that was attempting to force itself onto those fraudulent thoughts, because those thoughts are not correct thoughts that we had that we enacted in the last era. We all know that we are the most high, ancient, original, indigenous, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American sovereigns. We always have been and we always will be. So having stated that, it does not matter what you believe. Simply look first at the law and then at the facts. How is it that we can make a statement that we are the Most High? Natural law is the law, and the natural order is the facts. The natural order states that all things that are, first of all, the Creator, the one who created all things, which is us, is at the highest of the natural order. Okay? And so that is just a fact. That's not a guess. It's not anything that can be debated. It cannot be legislated away. So natural law and universal law and divine law, all those laws say the same thing about us, which automatically trickles down to that which is legal. And I'll say legal because, again, we're the legal and lawful head and body for our nation and for Earth. And so the natural, original, indigenous people are the head both in heaven and at earth naturally. Natural law generates the natural order in heaven and at earth. We are the law. We are the government. And so we go, that is where the whole dominion mentioned in the book of Genesis and throughout the Biblios and throughout the Holy Quran as well. Chapter 29 of the Holy Quran, magistrate and subject. That's the natural order. We are the rulers and judges at earth. That is not an ego statement. Ego has nothing to do with the natural order. It has nothing to do with it. The natural order just is. It always has been since time immemorial. So as far back as we go in the record books, the most ancient records will always state what we have just stated here. And as far forward as you can look, that's not going to change. It is what it is. And so it is up to us to go ahead and govern accordingly. And again, we govern ourselves first and foremost, and then our surroundings. So now, upcoming, what do we have upcoming for the original Indigenous Supreme Court Chief Justices and the Congressional Assembly? During our last Congressional Assembly, and I'll go ahead and open the lecture mode. During our last Congressional Assembly, during our last Congressional Assembly, we did vote that we were going to do the one coin for the driver's license. And initially, I had stated that we would start that here. But after speaking with the ancestral energies about all that we're doing, what we want to do is, and not what we want to do, because we have no wants. We are our own shepherd, we shall not want. We are the law. So, and please let me know what you think about this. Each Chief Justice is encouraged to activate the office for public notary for your territory to further provide for, just a moment, microphone's coming open, just one moment, to provide works for your territory, for the public that we work for. We're not servants, we are workers. The work that public notaries do is a gold and silver public work. So as you begin, and again, this is for those who choose to do these works, because faith without works is dead. What does that mean? When people talk about full faith and credit or full faith and trust, they're talking about money. And so we have, it is within the ancient writings for us to bring forth the works that manifest our faith in our own selves and our own government and each other, okay? And so the work that public notaries do, be prepared to issue more sovereign dolarium gold receipts to the public as you receive the gold for your work. So this that you see on the screen is an example of a Moorish government notary stamp. It's a notary public, notaire republic. So the things that we do look different from what we've seen in the last era, because we are, again, we've always been on ancient lands, but the way that we spell, the way that we cast and break our spells is different. We use ancient English on our documentation and things. So as we're notarizing things, and again, Moors, that is absolutely up to you whether you want to use ancient, because you're using ancient English, whether, you know, because of the jurisdiction. It's an ancient jurisdiction no matter what you speak, no matter what language you speak. We're always on ancient land. So we want to prepare ourselves and go ahead and make this a part of, because the thing that the ancestors made clear to me, and they stated this before, is that we stay together on the things that we're doing, that we stay together. What does stay together mean? It means that instead of me being the only one collecting the gold and silver for the treasury, that all of us do it. Because there are so many at the territories that have needs. Notary publics, court clerks, and all of that, we can do that right where we are because we have the sovereign authority to do so. And so as we continue to move together in this manner, it will, many hands make light work, is what I'm stating. That way, not everything will but not everything will be on one desk. We can all do the work because we all have the authority to do the work. We just, it is our responsibility to stay together as we do so, so that there's unity across the board in what we're doing. For example, the services and things, not the services, the works that we provide, the public works that we provide, including, they include, in fact, everything. Driver's license, notary, clerk, court clerk, court actions, the things that government will do so that commerce can continue. Now, again, let us not be confused with what we're doing with the last era. Our government is not a corporation. Our government is de jure. The United States for America was first placed on the public record by us by affidavit, not by some inferior corporate document. It was done by affidavit and by charter. Okay, so when we do things by charter and by affidavit, it takes it out of an inferior status where the Clearfield Doctrine is concerned. Okay, so the Clearfield Doctrine, many have done the study on the Clearfield Doctrine, whereby it states that, and I'll paraphrase it, that governments descend into an inferior corporate status when they incorporate, and when they do things from an incorporated inferior perspective. And so we want to ensure that everyone is aware. Did you have something, Justice Akil, that you wanted to state? Okay. And so what we want to do is move together as we're doing what we're doing, and just continue to begin governing. We're preparing while we're governing. We are actually in full-scale government mode because we've always been the government, and so it is our responsibility on the land to go ahead and put our information out there so that we can be reached and things can be notarized and rulings can be issued. And we've already been doing these things already. We've been doing them already. We've been doing court actions already. We've been issuing rulings and stamping and sealing documents and all of that, starting with our own documentation. And so what we want to do is continue doing those things, but do it in a more unified manner. And then also what the ancestors had impressed upon me about what we're doing is that things like driver's license and things like that, because we voted on the one gold coin for that, and then things like notary works and things of that nature, and apostilles and things of that nature, for those who have an equivalent amount of silver we can accept silver for those things. But just let me know what you think. All justices, first of all Moors are justices and judges and consuls according to your study and according to your will and according to your energy and how it is your determination. We are self-determined. We do want to continue to govern and rule together in that manner. But all Chief Justices can notarize documents for your Article 3 court, for the state, for the city, and the county, because, again, we've already put the constitutions on the public record and all of that. A separate notary seal is suggested. I said necessary. It is suggested for the different Article 3 jurisdictions in terms of court, state, city, and county. And if you for example, this stamp that's on the screen, I didn't have an embosser printed for it. I designed it and I put it into one of the programs and put what I was led to put on it, you know. And so at some point I will have stamps made for that. Stamps made for this particular notary public stamp, but I could begin notarizing documents today just because I can, feed it into the printer and have this come out on it. So where there's a will, there's a way to govern. You don't have to have 1,000 sovereign credits to get governing. We've been governing anyway. And so we're going to, it is in my knower, I know that it's important that we all govern our territories together in this manner. Are there any questions, comments, wisdom regarding this?
Islam.
Islam.
I get.
Say again, Justice Thomas?
I like it. Thank you.
Islam. Yes, we might as well go ahead and move forward. We've placed the documentations on the record. We've done we've done proper notification and all of those things. We've stated our status and also, anyone who has documentation that should be notarized, we have the capability and the authority to do so at any time. And so some of the services works, and I may call them services sometimes, but it's spelled differently. Some of the works would be things like notary, and I'm spelling it in ancient English, by the way. Notary. If something needs to be filed in any of our courts, we are court clerks, all of us. If it needs a judge's or justice's autograph, we are Article 3 Chief Justices, all of us. And I think that as we take our steps through these processes, that we share our experiences as we go forth to do what we're doing, and share any information that we come across in our studies with regard to demonstrating these processes. If you're not, if you're feeling a bit uneasy about something, always let your spirit be your first authority. And one of the things that that I thought about also, which would be, because I'm really thinking about, first and foremost, about the Congress, to see what is most convenient, but also lawful, but also, authoritative about what we're doing. But I'm also considering the people. The people need to be able, not need to, but the people should be able to have at least a more within a driving distance or traveling distance, where they can get things notarized and things of that nature using the gold or silver or both. And then we use more sovereign dollarium gold receipts to note that in the amounts that were given. So if they give one gold coin and it's a 1 ounce gold coin, then we know that 1 ounce of gold is 2,000, somewhere around there. And we get to state the value of it. Then we would give them 2,000 receipts, not 2,000 receipts. With more sovereign dollarium, we have $1,000 denominations, or nominations rather. And so we would give them 2 $1,000 gold receipts when they give the gold coin. Or we can, we're going to also issue silver receipts as well. And we're calling them receipts. Some choose to call them certificates, however they choose to do that. But now is the time for us to do what we're doing right now. Our ancestors knew that we would get to this point, and they have absolutely cleared the road for us to do this. So with that being stated, a couple of congressional assemblies back, I think the last one, or the second to the last one that we did, or the previous one rather, we asked the question, in our sleep, was there a need to be educated on how to use money? Well, now what we're doing is erudition, because it's elevated to the natural resource level. And so I looked in the Biblios, because I thought, let me just go ahead and read what's here regarding the imperial taxes that we required from others. So, and also of us as merchants, how we invest in our nation has a lot to do with how well our nation does. First with our energy, then with our resources. It says here, then the Pharisees went out and laid plans to trap him, Yeshua, in his words. They sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians. Teacher, they said, we know that you are a man of integrity and that you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. So this is from the Bibliotheliotext. You aren't swayed by others because you pay no attention to who they are. Tell us then, what is your opinion? Is it right to pay the imperial tax to Caesar or not? But Yeshua, knowing their evil intent, said, you hypocrites, why are you trying to trap me? And then this is the part that I wanted to get to. Yeshua said, show me the coin used for paying the tax. They brought him a denarius, and he asked them, whose image is this? And whose inscription? Inscription being whose signature? It says, Caesar's, they replied. Then Yeshua said to them, so give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. When they heard this, they were amazed. So they left him and went away. For the first time since we've been manifested at this particular dimension, we have our own money with our own images on it, images that look like us. And your inscriptions, Moors, will be on your money. And just for the record, there was no inscription on coins. It was on the paper. They didn't have signatures on the coins. They had signatures on the paper. So when we say military script from the last era, that's what we're talking about. Is foreign signatures enacted on U.S. Federal Reserve debt notes. And so now, indeed, now we have our own with images that look like God, which is all of us. And so that is important for this next movement. That's why it's called the Moorish Divine and National Movement for the World. Your inscriptions and with your inscriptions and our inscriptions being on the money, that will make each dollarium unique. So now that we have all of this in our spirits, I wanted to show you what just some changes, a very basic addition that we made to the dollarium to reflect what we're stating. And before we show you that, let me just say this. All debt that was enacted as being denominated in U.S. Federal Reserve debt paper is no more. All debt that was issued by the printers of said foreign currency is not enforceable, as there is no way to pay it. In other words, and this was huge for me.
You're so fucking full of shit, Pauline.
This was huge for me simply because the fact that the foreign energies began talking about a whole new or different, quote unquote, money system in the form of CBDCs or central bank digital currencies, they knew that the thing from the past with United States U.S. current, they knew that was no good. That's why a new system was their enactment. They were going to enact that. And so, but that's not going to happen, not for us. At this time, anything that was denominated in that previous script is not valid anymore by their own enactment. So those, and this is an encouragement to you, those who did demonstrations where, properties and other demonstrations are concerned, do not hesitate, and this is, you can't tell sovereigns what to do, so this is a suggestion. Please don't hesitate to demonstrate your money at this time. Don't hesitate to demonstrate.
Why don't we ever see you demonstrating your dollarium at Walmart, Pauline? Let's see you do.
So the fact that and it's not even a fact. It's fiction that they were even enacting anything about fiat. Here's the situation. Acceptance of any
Pauline's
commercial
real good
product
at telling you guys what to do, but you never.
from a debt system. Acceptance of any commercial products from the debt system is your agreement to continue under the debt system and be held accountable to pay the debt that is enacted as belonging to the fictions, because it's a fiction. It was a fiction system. It was complete acting fiction from the last era. So for some, this has been, some of us jumped right in and said, okay, no more of that. For others, it will be a transition for you. Transition at your own pace and space. Transition the way that you are comfortable transitioning. And our suggestion is, by all means, keep moving. Because there's an entire estate that is awaiting your arrival where all of this is concerned. So as we now move in the direction that we're continuing to move, which is up, will be what we've decided and what the ancestors are revealing to us and showing us about the next moves. What they said to do is just go ahead and advertise in the way that you advertise things. That can be flyers passed out. That can be, but again, notification first. Notification first. Notify all subjects first that you're going to be going out and advertising. And it's not really advertising, it's publishing, because it is for the public. And then keep good records of your exchanges, so that we know how much is coming into our treasury. The records that we keep are going to be one of the most important proofs that we have, aside from our very existence. Proof that we have of our governing authority is the records. And so what we would state is this, that we continue to move together on this, continue to speak about it, continue, if you have any questions, comments, wisdom on the best practices, not practices, the best ways to do what we're doing, by all means. At some point, we do want to have a, and see, we don't want it to be centralized. I'm trying to do everything. I'm not trying to. We're doing all that we do because the whole earth is our central government. And so we want to ensure that we continue neutralizing the programming that says that everything has to come out of just one territory. Because the whole earth is ours. So everything should be coming out of all the territories in terms of the actions that we do on the public record, governing and ruling. So yes, indeed, Empress Shasha, we will. The conference is open for those who Islam. So I do want to discuss briefly some of the security features of the receipts, because I know that that is an important factor in what we're doing. I will say this about the receipts. The signatures, the autographs on the gold receipts are going to be...
You're doing it again, Pauline. You're telling people to do shit that you...
Are going to be a very important characteristic of our money. So each bank has her own embossment. Okay, so I have an embosser here. I have an embosser here that we use for our dolarium to emboss our dolarium. And again, with the gold receipts, just one moment. Here, let me take this off for just a moment. I just want to show you the embosser that I have. We'll use our embossers to emboss our dolarium gold receipts as we move forward. And then it will also have your wet ink autograph. It will also have your right red thumbprint. Each receipt has a unique number, and whoever it is that's receiving them, you'll have records of who received those numbers. Okay, so when people come to get driver's license, or they send into the mail for their driver's license, they can we will have a record of the unique number of each dolarium that was gold receipt that was sent back to them for whatever they sent, the gold coin that they sent, or the silver coins that they sent. For the driver's license, it's gold coins, and then for like the notary public things, it's the silver things that we
for your groceries and
that we send. So, and then handwritten ledger books. We want to keep everything offline first, and over time we'll put it online. But the whole internet thing is going to experience some changes, and so for obvious secure reasons, we want to keep a ledger. Same way our ancestors did, they kept a ledger. The same way corporations did, they kept ledgers that no one saw except their quote unquote board of directors in their enactments. And so Islam nobility.
Justice Phoenix here. Question.
Yes. Yes.
I heard you mention twice now when they send their gold coin in, like for their driver's license and this and that. Where are they getting the gold coin from?
Most of them already have it. Most of them already have it.
But I don't know anybody who has gold coins. Okay.
I do.
All right.
Now, let me say this about that, Noble Phoenix. And I mentioned this, I think I may have mentioned it last time. There are people, our brothers and sisters, our descendants, in other words, they came from us, who have gold coins that they came here with. They just have not had a place where they could do an exchange for them.
Okay, so as an example, when, like, for example, I just had someone do some body work
Mm-hmm.
And in appreciation for what he did, I gave him 500 delirium. Now, I'm going to be working with him so that he can get his documents in order, his estate in order, with the primary 6 foundation documents that we've talked about in the past,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Once he gets those things done, it is my understanding that he's going to need to have to restate some of his debtors' accounts.
Mm-hmm. James, Empress Light. Just a moment, Empress Nana. Just a moment. Go ahead, Nobility.
So he's going to have to restate some of the debtors that he already has, business or personal, so that they can receive sovereign-backed credit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes, they will receive Delarium gold receipts.
Okay.
Now, you asked a good question, Nobility. Where do they get the gold from? People have been collecting gold and had it. And remember, none of the gold that was here when our ancestors were in this dimension, none of that gold has gone anywhere. It's still here because gold does not deteriorate. So people have been holding gold for centuries. It's just a matter of this place was one of the last places that didn't do that until now. Brazil, Venezuela, all the places where you heard of these quote unquote wars and things, they've been using gold coins, been using them. Syria, Iran,
Let's see
Iraq,
your gold
and
coin,
all of that.
Pauline.
Okay, they've been using them.
What recommendation do you have for individual post offices who refuse to honor our mailing process?
So there's no way for them not to honor it if you're doing it the way the video says to do it.
Okay.
What? They don't honor the mailing process?
So
I can't believe.
So
I'm following the process in detail, and I had initial success, and now then they come back around, and then they stop the last 6 that I did and sent them back to me.
Okay. How do you know they stopped the last 6?
Because they came back to me. They were handed back to me and not delivered. And the thing that I did the first 20 times, I did those 6 times. Mm-hmm. Nothing changed in my process, my delivery. So it is blockage from an individual employee there, mm-hmm, who thinks in their blackened state, in their sleep state, that they are the HNIC blah 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 blah.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let me tell you where the discrepancy is in your process. Talking to them at all. When I deposit,
I didn't.
Just a moment. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. When I deposit my documents into that depository, I have no need whatsoever to go in and talk to anybody about anything. No need. No need. And the only way that they would have given them back to you is they have to know that you're the one who put them in there. Now, did they return them to your domicile, to the mailbox, or did they, or was this an exchange that happened at the post office?
No, they were sent back via the postal carrier. Instead of delivering it, they delivered it back to the postal mailing address.
Okay. That means that there's something going on with the address in the upper left corner.
Okay, so let me just say on the actual envelopes, because I'm looking at one, it's the same envelope. I mean the same return address. Except that of course.
What is the return address? What is it look like?
It's not a return address. It's Moorish National Government, Republic, Federal Government, Moorish American Consulate, in care of, written out, and then 8480 Mattatuck Circle, near Orlando, Florida territory, and it has my natural zip code, blah, blah, blah. I mean, not zip code, natural area code.
Islam.
Okay.
Et cetera, et cetera. And it was a certified mail, and it had the first class stamp on it. Okay. And et cetera, et cetera. And then they returned that and said, postage due $6.13.
Okay.
So that's the exact same thing that I did 20 other times or more, and they were going through.
So we don't do in care of. That's not a part of the mailing process. We don't do in care of. Because it's going directly to our consulate. Let me see. Let me look at this. Just a moment. I have some. Again, we don't. Care of is not a part of the mailing process. I believe I showed these documents how we do it. This, just one moment. Let me make sure this shows up on the screen. This, can you see that, yes. Noble Phoenix?
Yes.
It doesn't say care of. It's written in ancient English. So it couldn't be care of, in care of. Because in care of means that there is a substitute there that's going to be giving it to someone else.
Islam.
So, and even and I'm telling you, down to the letter, it matters. It matters. And if it's not done exactly the way we did it in the video, they're not going to let it go through. So try it without that, without the in care of, and it will go through.
Islam, I have a question.
Islam, nobility.
For Brother Phoenix, did you use the longitude, latitude
on
your parcel?
I did not use it on the last one. And some of the previous ones I did, and some of them I did not.
You should
add the in care of.
Yeah, take that off. As Sister Light said, I tried that one time, the in care of, and it did come back for me. So I took that off, and I corrected and put the longitude, latitude on there, and I've not had a problem as yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we are also leaning certain postal locations that is sending our parcels elsewhere. So you can put a lien or court action on them as well. So they won't interfere with your parcel deliveries. Islam.
I did have the intention to do that. In fact, I'm working on that as we speak for that specific. In fact, for all of the Orlando, city of Orlando, false narrative territory, whatever, for all of their post office in this postmaster's location or area that they claim to be postmaster of. So there's 22 locations under this custodial postmaster general. And I'm going to do all 22 locations so that no matter where I go, I'm not going to have this issue no more. So that is my intention, but I just wanted to clarify. I don't think that's what it is, but I'm willing to try it. Okay? I think it's really just an employee there that literally is looking at this, and I don't think she's smart enough to know the difference in
No.
otherwise.
You know what? That's what they want you to do, is go head to head with somebody. That is the distraction from the process. They want you warring on your own land so that they'll have a reason to do things.
Okay.
Don't fall for that.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm not at war. I just want to resolve the alleged obstacle that's keeping me from getting my mail delivered to the subjects. That's all that my intention is. I don't care about warring with her. She's not that important to me. All right.
Yeah.
The subject, and I understand that. Now, having said that, where should the trust receipt come in terms of that is what's paying for the postage? Okay, it is prepaid by our estate, our national trust, and the lien that we've already done on the U.S. Post Office and the Postal Service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, at how I'm trying to understand, when you brought and introduced the trust receipt, I said, Eureka, that is beautiful, because I can see using the trust receipt as the evidence, it's already paid for, and this is paid for from our national trust. Yes. What are your thoughts on that? Can you share?
Yes. So on the green cards, on the back of the green cards, it tells you, and all we did was restate the G10 permit. And I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yeah, I can see that just fine on your camera.
Yeah, we restated the G10 permit.
At one point, she said all she had to do for her Land Rover was give him a receipt, and then she'd get her Land Rover.
That's about distraction.
Yeah. Just a moment. So this right here, this G10 that restated is the trust. However, we actually had to, but as a part of the process, place the bond on the public record for the $666 trillion in gold as well, which we've done. We did that back in 2019, and then we further manifested that recently.
Yeah.
So that's the trust that it comes from. Is ours, because this Congress voted on that. So they will honor your mailings, nobility. We just get it all. We must have it down to the letter.
Okay.
Down to the letter.
And speaking of that, and the return address, I'm able to use my government location versus the one that you showed on yours out of Washington. Is that correct?
Yes. Wherever we are, that's where the government is. So you should be using, if you choose to, your own government mailing locations. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Everything that we're doing from this territory can be done from any of the territories, and that's what I love about all of this.
Because wherever, like you said, wherever we go, that's where the government is, because we are
yes.
of the government, to the government, with the government, in the government, as the government.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
All right, I'm going to work on that, and I will report back what happens with the slight change and with the lien being put back in place locally for them. And we'll see how things go from there. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for the
You're welcome. You're welcome indeed, nobility. Islam.
This is Justice Dawood.
Yes.
Okay, so going from Swampomec down to the Land of Flowers, same label I lose in Swampomec, I was using in Land of Flowers. Mail goes all over the place where it's supposed to go. Now I come up to Anajuia territory in Exwell, Georgia. I only use one of my labels, but they sent that one, return to sender. It's still out there. But I know why they did that, because this is the first activity of mailing process in Anjouer territory. So, okay, so now what do we have to do? The same thing we did in Swamppomack. We took care of all of the liens of everything that goes out of Swamppomack, all the airports. Like they took your letter and held it for hostage for your birthday, which I didn't like that. But after I did that, no more problems. So after I take care down here in Exrail, Georgia, there won't be no more problems after that. But I had to do the lien because there's been no activity down here in Georgia. No joke, no, nothing here in Georgia.
I will say this: there has been lots of activity at Georgia, but because you're there now, you have to make your statement that you're part and parcel of the activity that has been going on at Georgia. You know, the Moors everywhere have been demonstrating beautifully, actually, and so again, the Moors must claim the territory. Wherever you are, that territory belongs to you, and all Moors at that territory. So claim it, so that your things are not held up. You know.
And what Georgia's nice, but it's nothing like pizza from New York Republic. I'm sorry, Washington, Florida. Nobody beats New York Republic pizza. Sorry about that.
Now we could go to the Detroit pizza and how that, because that's where I was birthed. But we'll say that for another time.
Okay.
I didn't even know Detroit had their own pizza until recently. But anyway, I digress. Let me not digress, but let's go back. Yes, Islam.
I have one quick question before my phone dies. So when it comes to the sovereign delirium, I'm sorry, I'm outside, y'all. Waiting for the public transportation, that part. So, but the DeLorean, when we stating it from our trust, for the serial number, do we change that to put our reflection of our trust information, like our trust digits and like the two letters and things?
So let me go ahead and get to that part.
Oh, you're talking about it today. Very well. Islam.
So we are all going to be see, this is not a personal action that we're doing. This is a public action that we're doing. So we don't change it to our own personal state security numbers and things like that. That's for your own separate estate where you're doing things for your own separate estate. Because again, Moors, we issue public delirium to the public. We also have estate delirium that we can issue from our own individual trusts, because we each have an estate, and that's where you can put your own stuff on your delirium. But this process and all the public processes that we're all doing at all the territories, those are public processes, and we're doing them from a public perspective, and that's where the national things, the national numbers come in at. For example, on the screen, let me share my screen. Just a moment. Let me share this so that we can all see what we're talking about regarding delirium and the things that we. So the simplest methodology that I was given was for our public money to put AA 222141, because we restated that, Series A1, and then the year. So this will change when the ancient moon year of 2024 comes into being. However, because whenever you're talking about money, you're going to use the ancient Roman civil calendar because it applies to everyone. Okay. But then with our national things that we do, then we go into other calendars, however we choose to do it as a nation, as a state. But when we're doing things publicly, we use the civil calendar as we govern the civilians and the civil processes. And so Series A1 2023, and then for each, all Moors who are governing can use these gold receipts, because you're going to keep your own records on what the number of that gold receipt that you issue is. Okay. So, and then you're going to autograph it here on the right-hand side where where your signature will be on the right of the document. So,
I'm sorry. Yes, just for clarity's sake. So the gold receipt number is what we, as a people, when issuing the DeLorean, that's what we change?
Yes, according to the records that you have at your territory. Now, I'm glad you asked that question, Empress, because the gold receipt numbers are going to follow a sequence that is the opposite of what the Federal Reserve, quote unquote, actors were doing. So, for example, they had the Federal Reserve districts that were issuing. They started from the what they called the East with District 1, and then 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 all the way to District 12. Okay. Ours is the opposite of theirs. It goes from over here as the first Federal Reserve District, because they had everything backwards. Everything was backwards. Everything was backwards. And so our districts start one. This is District 1. So all of our gold receipts will start with a 1, and maybe a W, or something of that nature. And we can talk about the best ways to do that. But all of the gold receipts that's issued from here, from this district, so that's going to include Khalifa territory, but Khalifa will add something different to theirs. So Justice Tonis, you and the Moors there, yours will start with 1 also, but then we'll differentiate according to the geographics, or according to our locations, what the next digit will be. Okay.
Ooh, I like that very well.
Indeed.
That answers the question.
Yes,
very well.
Indeed. Yeah. All we have to do is look at the funny mirror and then do the opposite of what we see, because it was all just backwards, upside down, fake fraud. Period. That's all we had to do. So all of the what they were calling the West Coast Moors are going to do things that way. Now, at the other lands, for example, Justice Consul, you're at UK, Empress Shasha's at Jamaica. We have our brother and sister at the Virgin Islands. We have Empress Frederica at French Guiana. We have the Moors at China. And all you have to do is look at the layout of the land, the way that the corporates were doing it, and then just flip it. And that will assist you in mapping out the numerical sequence that will allow for proper identification of the land and the districts. Each and every land has either districts, judicial districts, financial districts, executive districts, etc. And then with those districts, it's easy to identify who's issuing what based on the numbering system that we use for things like what they call M1 money supply or dolarium coming out. that you actually have in your hand, and that people are exchanging back and forth.
Islam.
Islam nobility.
Noble Phoenix again. Okay, if we're going to do that, then we have to decide in advance collectively what each district will be designated as. You'll notice that I put in the chat what I've already been using in my registry for the delirium that I have sent out already.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Each one of my trust receipts has a trust receipt number that I've been doing separately because I didn't have a gold receipt to put on the delirium itself.
Yeah.
So what I did is I created a document that says it's a trust receipt. Let me pull up one real quick. I just had one pulled up. And basically it has our all rise standing part, and I have a simple, depending on what it was, like this is notification in appreciation of your services and labors. Okay, so it's generic. It says your service to myself and other heirs within the Moorish Empire at Morocco are most appreciated, and with intentional divine direction and assistance, it is all our continued wishes that you may continue to generously offer your experience, knowledge, wisdom, counsel, governed by our divine mandate, which binds all of us with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Therefore, I hereby provide to you, and then I put the person's appellation if it's a Moor, and if it was a subject, I would put their name in there. This modest sum of, in this case, it was 100,000. And then I have MSD, I have written out, I have the numbers 100,000, and then the words 100,000 written out, dash, or comma, MSD, and then I have the symbol for our Moor Sovereign Delirium.
Okay.
And then it says Sovereign Gold Tier 1 Asset-Backed Credit from our National Trust. So that's what I created to give a receipt, and then each one of these is a National Trust receipt. That's how I was handling things, for, prior to this coming up today. That's what I was doing.
The difference between what you're doing and what we're talking about here is the same difference that Empress Angel brought up earlier. You all are issuing delirium from your personal trust for services that you received.
Correct.
Okay. Those services, that's something that you do personally. What we're talking about now is public. So it's going to be uniform all the way across the board.
Okay, all right, I get what you're saying.
So, you see what I'm saying?
But when am I going to be doing? When would I use something publicly for what? Like for what? Give me an example.
If someone from the public comes to you for public works, such as driver's license or notary, having documents notarized, anything they would go to a court for, or anything that was pretending to be government last time, in the last era, they would come to us for. Driver's license, ID cards, anything of that nature. ID cards, notarizing documents. In fact, let me just, I meant to do this before we, as a part of my study in preparation for this, so I apologize that I did not have this listing that I'm going to read off to you.
Okay.
Regarding government services, government works, public works.
Yeah.
So anything that has to do with municipal things, people may, if there are any disputes in at our territories, they're going to be coming to us, and our court is going to issue. We're going to be. Our courts are always, and I'm going to use the word underwritten to mean what we say it means. Underwritten by gold and silver. And whenever someone comes with a dispute, their quote unquote court cost, which is going to be a allodial cost, is going to be, it can be silver, it can be gold, and then our court will issue public delarium that they can use in the public. Anything that has to do with licenses of any kind, registrations of any kind, we're providing government services or government works. Okay, so when contractors need a license for something, then they're going to bring their gold and silver, and we will issue the license and the gold receipt. So the way the gold receipts work too is that we don't have the capacity to issue debt. So that's why we're issuing gold receipts, because they can take the gold receipts and deposit them and do whatever they're going to do. Those are exchange mechanisms. So it's like if you paid for something and I gave you change back. If I give you change, you can go and take that change and buy whatever you're going to buy and do whatever you're going to do with it. You know, so the receipts is just another form of our wealth as a people. It's for all of that. Things that have to do, it's also a unit of account. It's a unit for value and wealth. It's a wealth storage instrument. So when people exchange their gold, you know, what they're getting back in exchange for their gold is substance for substance, because they're getting not only our energy and a service, but they're also getting a gold receipt. You know, so all we're doing is proper accounting on the land. That's what we're doing. And the public can come to us for whatever it is that they need, and we can assist them in that. Most of the time, it will be not corporations, but companies and merchants and things coming to us, but also the people. And the people is our main concern in the first place, because all that other stuff will fall into place. The people and proper governance of the land, you know. So that's the difference between public and private also. As we're doing things publicly, it will be like them going down to the county courthouse, and whatever services the county courthouse does, issuing of, you know, city permits and things like that, all of that stuff goes through the Moors, because all the land is ours. Occupancy documents, you know, sometimes when people purchase a building, they still have to have a clearance where occupancy is concerned, and all of that stuff is public works. Right now, though, what we're doing is we're starting small with notary works and with driver's licenses and with licenses of any kind, really. And for each one of us, all we have to do where licenses are concerned is first, this is just a suggestion for us to discuss, to make it a general rule that we rule our land by, is if someone, you know, right now, those who've had a license previously, and it doesn't matter whether it's expired or not, none of that matters, because none of it was valid in the first place. Those are the ones that we issue to at this time, but then there's also those who are coming here from other places. Our brothers and sisters who didn't want to be here while we were asleep are back from Brazil and Venezuela and Mexico and other places. And they've come back knowing that this change has already taken place.
Islam, I have another question.
Yes, indeed.
You just had me hit a brain eureka moment.
We love those.
You said just triggered in me. Are you telling me, are you saying, are we putting out there? I'm trying to get my verbiage correct. You see me trying to correct it. Let's just say someone in the old system, their so-called driver's license was suspended. All right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For some foolishness. Okay?
Yeah.
There's nothing to say we cannot issue them especially if they're in error and have proclaimed and done everything. We can just issue them a license. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
We can issue them a commercial driver's license while we're at it to do commerce.
With the commercial, so the driver's license that we're issuing were commercial documents anyway. That's why they kept pulling people over, because we thought that wasn't a commercial document. It is. Now, let me say this about commercial, like CDLs. The only CDLs that we're issuing is either they've had the training or they have a CDL, even if it's a CDL from 30 years ago or 20 years ago.
The person I'm thinking of has had one, and he's been grandfathered in from about 40 years ago, and it just got suspended for financial responsibility nonsense.
Right.
Was back, was not in place at the time.
Right. Okay. And see, that whole enactment of a system is not valid. It's not a valid enactment.
So what does that look like in terms of reestablishing that, so that in their system it is not only recognized, but I don't want to use the word accepted, but that is recognized as a valid driver's license.
It needs to be restated. It has to be restated.
Okay.
Restate it, make it look exactly like the one that they issue, but with color in it. And when I say color, I mean blue. Because theirs is black. I've seen the CDLs. They're black. They're in black ink and all of that. Ours looks exactly like the one that they issue, except it doesn't say United States of America or anything like that. Whatever state it is, if it's Georgia, a CDL from Georgia, then it will say Georgia at the top.
Florida. Okay.
It will say Florida at the top, not state of Florida. It'll say Florida.
Okay. And then we'll send a copy of that to their Department of Transportation, so put them on notice that this person has their CDL.
Yes.
De jure government empire of Morocco, etc.
It doesn't even have to say all that. The government has issued a CDL to him.
Okay.
Because they're not government.
Yeah, they're just corporations pretending to be. I know.
They're not even doing that anymore. They're shutting all of that stuff down. I saw an article the other day about how, quote unquote, city of Chicago was hacked. And they had to shut down all of their computers and everything, and they had no plans on getting anything back up. See, the only way things would have gotten back up is if the Moors came and said we're not ready. But that's not going to happen. We're ready.
We had a sister empress that went for, I think, her daughter to a fingerprint place that she had visited months before on behalf of her daughter or someone else, a client.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went this time, the person behind the counter, first of all, said, "We can't get you a fingerprint. We only have like 2 or 3 people left, and we don't have any more money. We're closing down." They literally came out and told her that. This was yesterday. Okay? Just yesterday.
Yeah.
And at the same location she went to before, no problem. They did it. This was just 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you may want to go over to this other location, but you're going to have to set up an appointment and wait in line.
And they still may not be able to do anything, because even if she wait in line, they still may not do anything.
Yeah, I see the fall happening, and
that's
good for us, because that gives us, more incentive to be busy with our work of our ministries, all of them.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Islam.
It is our time. It is our time. We have work to do. So now, and if you'll look at some of the things on the screen, the quote unquote attacks That is where the war is. We're not a part of that. Okay. These types of attacks and things, quote unquote, that they're enacting and all of that, and shutting down things and breaching and all of that stuff is not. That's where the war is. We're not a part of that. That's not happening on our land. It's happening in a corpse. Okay, just complete shutdown. You know. Facebook hacker shut down, just everything. A yacht club, computer's been hacked. That's happening all over the place, and that is another reason why we keep all of our ledgers offline. And then when we come together, we can show our ledgers and do things like that, because at some point we are going to be meeting together and discussing processes and best ways to do things. And things of that nature, probably annually or semi-annually, will be coming together. And when we do that, we're going to be using our own everything, our Delarium, our own everything that belongs to us. So that is why we're moving in this direction that we're moving in now. And the more we continue to move forward, the more you're going to see all of that other stuff over there just continuing to go away, because it's not real in the first place. Okay. So Empress, there are several questions in the chat. Let me just go back and see the gold receipt number. Justice Malik asked, can we handwrite the gold receipt number? That was the plan. As we issue the gold receipts, you autograph them and handwrite the gold receipt number, because you're going to be keeping books and ledgers on that, so that you know how much came out and how much went in during the day, and all of that. So this is a record-keeping, not an exercise because it's real. This is a record-keeping manifestation. Our ancestors, this is what the sleep was about for the most part, is learning how to do the record keeping. Okay, so yes, for example, when we do the gold receipts here, we're gonna autograph them. We're gonna put the number, and then we'll also keep track of who that went to, because they're going to be getting driver's license and documents notarized. And even when documents are notarized, Moors, please listen to me carefully. They must have either a Moorish ID or a subject affidavit on that you have in your records in order for them to get service. They can't get service with or works or anything. They can't get anything from us with those fraudulent documents. And if all they have is those corporate documents, then we will issue at that time. We can issue them a driver's license or an ID, a non-driver ID for the subjects on the land. But everyone must be properly identified in order to take advantage of all these amazing services and works that we offer.
And how are we properly identifying the subjects from the heirs?
They're going to tell you.
Factor on the ID.
There need not be a distinguishing factor on the because see, a non-driver ID is still a document for either all caps or in capitis diminutio minima. It's not a sovereign document. It's a state document. So the distinguishing factor for us happens on our Moorish IDs. On our driver's license, we can put original indigenous American, because if that's what we want to put on there, and if they don't have that on there, then they're it's up to the heirs to decide. But these driver's licenses and things, those are documents that are the property of the state, which is all of us. So subjects that get them, they get them. It is a subject status document anyway. A driver's license is because sovereigns don't have to have a driver's license if they don't want a driver's license. But if they're doing commerce, because see, commerce is actually a lowered state, a lowered activity or action for us, simply because everything belongs to us anyway. So for the sovereigns that don't want those documents, like a driver's license, things like that, they just go live off the land and they exist out onto the land, and they're not going to be engaging in commerce. Okay. But the distinguishing factor on driver's license and things like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be one. The heirs, however, and we have this option, the heirs can show a nationality, a national ID or nationality paperwork and have original Indigenous American put on their ID.
If I may.
On their driver's license, the way I have it on mine, and the driver's license that I issued, the two that I've issued thus far, have original Indigenous American on them, or Al Moroccan if you want to put Al Moroccan, original Indigenous Al Moroccan.
If I may just share quickly, one of my students was detained unlawfully 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things that they were doing was searching to see if that person is the one that they were looking for by the evidence that they were going to use against him in his wallet. Yes. So the first thing they were looking for were, did you have a driver's license from us with the name we're looking for? Yeah. And he didn't have one. So they looked to see, do you have cars in the name that we're looking for? The all caps name from the state organization that we created and gave the all caps name. Do you have one of those in your wallet or something else? Or Federal Reserve notes in your wallet? So I use that as precautionary experience that literally just happened to share with my brothers and sisters, my fellow heirs of the empire of the nation. Remove those things from your wallet because those are false IDs anyway, and it identifies their slave chattel property.
Yes.
That's what it does. So your national ID, when you go to that section 1508, section 1028 that we talked about once before, in the absence of a national ID, the following may be used. A driver's license, blah, 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 to identify our property is what that really should say, but it doesn't.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. And one last point, and then I'll be quiet. The mailing on the certified mailing. In your video, you show the labels that you had created at that time, and they do have in care of, it has care of on the return. It has care of.
Okay. So, thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you. That's why I did it, and I used that because it was on there.
And you know what? That's the point that we've been making, Nobility, is they'll let it go the first few times. But then after that, we have to elevate what we're doing up to proper, competent, further competent. They let ours go for 2-3 years, and then the ancestors just said to us one day, okay, you don't have to be care of anymore. Just do it like that. So we showed it on these congressional assemblies, and that's why it's important not to miss congressional assemblies if you don't have to miss them, because we're constantly honing in on perfection of everything that we're doing, and everything that we're doing is perfect already. We just got to keep going. So thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome. Islam.
Indeed.
Islam, I have a question in regards to that.
Islam.
Okay, so now does this count for any more who's nationalized but maybe has not completed the foundational documents, still working on canceling corporate contracts? Can this still be used now, or does that process has to be satisfied first, or something else can still happen?
What process to be satisfied? What process are you?
The 6 foundational documents I'm finding out about, like the leaning, the non-peer, leaning Social Security Administration.
And I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happens after those are completed. I have some things, but I don't know if there's something I'm missing out on. But does that have to be done first for this to count, or is this something that can just still generally be everything that's been discussed as far as what Brother Phoenix just talked about and then what we discussed earlier
about governing and the gold and the licenses and things like that? Is that what you're asking? If the documents need to be done before that, is that what you're asking?
Not necessarily before that, because you did state that we're all chief justices and notaries and clerk, like court clerks and such. But for man, I forgot where I was going with this, but it has something to do with what Brother Phoenix said. And take the example of what I asked you at the beginning of the assembly before we started, when it comes to making a ruling or court actions or sending documents in.
I get it.
For example, if I say that I'm still on, or there's still corporate contracts out there for me, and I'm just like in the middle of this process, can that ever be utilized against me to any degree if I haven't completed that process out?
It could be. It could be. So it behooves us to go ahead and get the 6 documents done, because here's what we know about those 6 documents. Everything else is predicated on them.
Right. Okay.
So
right.
And the templates for the documents are there. So get the documents done, study them, of course, while you're putting yours together. Here's the thing. When fake policy enforcers from the last era would pull people over, they didn't have time to type up a document on the side of the road. They just had to demonstrate. And let me make that personal. We just had to demonstrate, because we didn't have the things that we have now, the resources that we have now. So you have to demonstrate whether you've done the 6 documents or not. You still got to demonstrate who you are. However, the sooner you get them done, the better and more competently you'll be able to demonstrate. When we state that everyone is chief justices and all of that, we're stating that from a place of you're going to continue to study to make yourself competent and approved from your approval, not ours. You don't need anyone else's approval but outside of yourself. But it is up to each one of us as chief justices and to know the law, which is ourselves. So the sooner the 6 documents are done, the better. Because, see, we know that, for example, the fiduciary document, we know that they were pretending to be fiduciaries over the all caps. So let's rebut that properly. We also know that anytime they came, they were coming looking for dead corpses. So that's what the name change and judicial proclamation are talking about. We also know that whenever they came, they were going to be trying to hustle fiat back and forth. That's what the liens are for. And that's what the 6 documents are all about. And jurisdiction. The 6 documents make it so that they can't use their instruments. But we have to know that when we do the 6 documents that we're doing them to state that we have our own person that we own and tell what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that clarifies a whole lot. I appreciate it so much. So if you could just answer one more question regarding that. Once they are completed and studied and understood, overstood, what is the next thing? I know it's put on the public record, but what's done is not just enough to do them. Like, they have to go somewhere. The notification has to be sent out via affidavit. I know that much.
Every one of us has had something that resembles debt or something trying to be enforced onto what we thought was us.
Yes, the corporate person they created. Mm-hmm.
So that's what you take those documents and do, is you notify, you do court actions, and again, the court actions is just the language at the top of the page that we show at the statement that the statements that we make at the beginning of every Congress. That at the top of your documents, and send those documents out to notify them that you're not the debtor that they're looking for.
Ashe. Okay. Okay. So send them out. Just after that, just give public notice, and then on the public record, just to have there as well.
Yes.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
You're welcome, Empress. That's all that we do is just notify, and continue moving forward using our court authority, our nationality, and our documentation. And everything that comes out of our mouth matches our documentation. That's the best way to, it's been very successful for us to move in that manner. So thank you for that question, Empress.
Of course, I've heard of some testimonies from my fellow brethren and
Islam.
Yeah. Islam.
Will you let Angel Bay in?
Yes. Thank you for that. We can't. Speaking of, while we're, I know a sleeping Moor from around the way over there who has perfect credit, and all of that. That went to a bank recently and has everything there and could not get it out. Could not pull anything out, even though it was just sitting there. In high numbers, too.
That's why that man brought the gun. That the talked about last meeting. He took to take a gun and only ended up getting 10% of his fiat.
Oh yeah. I heard that story. That there was some story about, and he wasn't a Moor. He was but yeah, it's getting shifty in the enactments in the theater. It's kabuki theater. So with that being stated, Islam, Empress.
Okay. Just so that I can be clear, anyone else who may not be clear, what are those 6 documents that's needed to move forward that was being referred to?
Okay, so that would be, number 1 is the name change and judicial proclamation. That's number 1, and that's technically 2 documents, but it's one process. That's nationality. Name change and judicial proclamation. That's number 1. Number 2 is a termination of all corporate contracts. Number 3 is a proclamation of trust, that you're a part of the national trust and that we're all bound together as the creditors with our national trust. That's number 3. Number 4 is a lien on the nom de guerre war name created by the frauds and the social security number with the dashes with the minus signs in it created by the frauds. Number 5 is a lien on the United States Corporation Company, the dead one, because they are fraud or were fraud. So the United States of America and the United States Corporation Company, that's number 5, a lien on that thing. And then number 6 is the fiduciary document, the fiduciary affidavit. And that fiduciary affidavit states that no matter what color the letters are, no matter whether they're capitalized or in lowercase or in French or English or Japanese, Chinese, whatever, you are the Lord of all letters, all numbers, all sounds, and everything that has to do with you. So no one can speak your holy name, and a holy name is just an all caps name that you govern, because see, we govern holy names with our holy breath. And so, that's what that fiduciary document has proven to be very, very, very
You govern absolutely nothing, Pauline. Why can't
very
you
important
a Land Rover
for
you govern?
That document has proven to be very successful. Very successful. Islam, Empress.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as leaning the corporation, the USA,
mm-hmm.
what figure would you be? Would you suggest?
As far as leaning them, what figure?
Yes.
Well, we just debted them forever into perpetuity by doing it for $100 million in gold for each parcel that they were claiming. So that means $100 million for each residence that they were claiming. That means every house that they were claiming for a U.S. citizen, we said $100 million for each one of those. And that $100 million is also for each more. Okay, so we just said $100 million all the way across the board. So each one of us, like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, we're just plain rich. Because they can't pay that because it's in gold.
Thank you for that.
Islam.
Show us all your gold coins, Pauline. You're so rich. Show us all your gold coins.
That is why, there's an attempt to speak into what we're doing, but Acts of State says you can't speak into another state like that. There were attempts to do that, but now there are not any more attempts like that. So we're good. We're good. Our land is free and clear. We're just moving forward. We're not at war because there's no war on our land. It's all good. We just keep going. And do everything that you can do, Moors, to abolish the Babel from that previous era. Everything that you can do to abolish the Babel from the previous era. Islam.
I have a question to all. There's a brother that I know who's presently dealing with a situation where he has leaned the so-called sheriffs, pretty much the entire county, right? So now this particular sheriff, he knows the guy. He went and put this brother's appellation in some kind of federal list that he's a sovereign citizen. What would you suggest he would or could do, or if that was anyone else having this experience? Because he defamed him by putting, first of all, he put him on a list that doesn't pertain. That's not his appellation.
No. He's not on any list. That's like having two people named George Jones, and they're talking about one George Jones, but he's the sovereign George Jones. They're not talking about him. That's where he's going to have to stop looking in the funny mirror and know that they don't have the authority to talk about him. Because if he claims to be that George Jones, the dead one, then they're going to switch and violate their dead corpse. So he must be competent to know that whoever it is that they're talking about is not him.
Islam, just to emphasize that point, if I may, real quick.
Hold on, Justice Howard, is that because it's important that he know that.
Yes.
See, we can't blame them for stuff if you know what I'm saying? We must know.
Right.
And he's not a sheriff. So not even in these conversations should you ever call them a sheriff. Never. I don't care how casual the conversation is. Never call them, never give them a title. They hadn't earned it. They don't have the status for that. So even for new Moors coming on, we're going to correct when we hear you call them a sheriff and all of that. We're gonna fix that. And I'm not speaking directly to you, Justice Howard, about that, because many have done that. We just fixed it. We just fixed it. They've never been a sheriff a day in their life.
Absolutely. I wanted for you to kind of share that with him. He's pretty much on the call.
Yeah.
Love him to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just wanted this, so him to hear it.
Yeah.
Because his mind has been in this system long time. So he's still.
Where's your sheriff costume, Pauline? You said you were going to order one online.
I think I hear some noise coming from somewhere, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. Go ahead, Justice Howard.
So we know that the transition or the change is all mental.
Yes.
It's a mental change.
Yes.
Many have been in this system for a long, long, long time.
Yes.
So we're aiding and assisting him, of course, because he's our brother.
Yes.
And it's okay, brother. I got you. I see what you're talking about. So It does take a minute out of us to make that mental change. As it says in the Matrix movie, the mind makes it real.
Yeah.
Your mind makes stuff real. It's not real. It's gone. They are gone, because I'm boots on the ground. I see a lot of things that most people in the car don't see. People. You see large things shutting down.
Yeah.
You see drugs. You see crimes is increasing among them, and they're fighting over our estates. I can see that in the territory that I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. You have to stop looking at that because they're actors. See, they can't. If they could have had our estate, they would have had it. They can't have it because, believe it or not, they can't even deal with things that are real. They can't. Not at all. So we have to. It is incumbent upon each of us to take responsibility for not continuing to look in the funny mirror and think that stuff is real, because it's not. It's definitely not real. Never has been and never will be.
Do we call them what they are, subjects?
Subjects in the office of, or subjects. See, just plain subject is actually correct, because they're not even in the office. We're the office. So that's what I do. If I had to speak to them, I do.
Islam,
Empress.
Empress Aisha. Just bringing up the information that's coming out from their inferior Supreme Court in regards to the rulings. They knocked down the ruling that they had done for in the favor of minorities attending their schools of learning. And I had read that in the Prophet's literature. Actually, they are only making the corrections that should have been made many moons ago. From my perspective, because the Prophet said, why did we need a 14th Amendment if we already had the laws that considered everyone equal in the previous Constitution of our forefathers? Can you address that?
Yes, Empress. So it does not matter how right what they're doing seems to be. Everyone, including the ones that's claiming to make the rules, is in the wrong status. So
exactly.
What they're doing is they're showing how the system should work for those who are disadvantaged. those who are disadvantaged is not a more on this landmass, not one.
Right.
Those who continue to talk about being Black and Negro and colored and African American, there'll be no remedy. There will be no remedy for them. And that's going to be the catalyst for them waking up. For example, the other day I heard that they had supposedly issued $25,000 in reparations to some blacks, some people thinking they're Black is either Illinois or Khalifa territory, or California, state of California, or state of Illinois, and I put that in air quotes. They issued $25,000, and the people on the I could not believe what my eyes were the acting that was going on there, because they were acting like that was a big, huge, giant deal that they got $25,000 in fiat.
Right.
Taxable fiat at that. Still just proud to be Black. And I'm like, okay, by the time they get through taxing that and you have about $2.50 in fiat and debt, and then you end up with more debt than you thought you had previously, you'll wake up. See, those types of actions, Empress, are designed to wake the Moors up, because it's going to be fraudulent and unfair and lopsided and crooked and backward and upside down.
Right.
So it'll just be used as a catalyst for them to say, oh, no matter what we do, we still can't get no justice.
Right.
Okay, good. That's great. Now you know.
So they really understand who they are.
Yes. Because it's not like the information is not out here. It's out there.
Right.
And they were sitting at Chicago at Mecca with all those Moors there, acting like they don't know they're Moors.
Wow.
Over 25,000 fiat Federal Reserve debt notes that they're going to come back and get before it hit the bank, quote unquote.
Right.
And if it got there to the bank, quote unquote, by the time it get there, they're going to do so many deductions and acting like the system broke and they can't give it to anybody and all of that. No. They'll wake up. They'll wake up. They have to wake up because that other thing is done.
Right.
But those types of events, and that's another reason why I don't let them bother me when I see stuff like that, when I see them claiming Blackness, is because I'm thinking you just ran into a brick wall that is going to wake your sleepy behind up. Wake up. Wake up. Because, see, the Spirit is telling them to wake up. The same Spirit that's in us is in them.
Right.
How hard does it have to get before you decide that you're going to go ahead and yield to your own truth center? How hard does it have to get? So meanwhile, and we love them, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. Meanwhile, we've put processes on the public record that they can use to free themselves from that thought process. And just like Justice Howard was stating, we have to deprogram and reprogram from looking in that mirror,
right?
That funny mirror. You know, we have to do that. And you know what? We're standing right here waiting on our brothers and sisters to do that, and we're going to keep moving. Because then they're going to be wondering, how do they feed their heirs, and how do they do this, and how do they do that? How do they get out of this debt and that debt? And then we have the distinct privilege and just joy of telling them it's not your debt and that it can be restated.
Right.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Because that is the joy, and I got goosebumps even talking about it. That is the joy of doing this work, is we actually get to tell the good news. to our brothers and sisters that's still talking about a 25,000 fiat Federal Reserve debt note reparation for blacks.
And that's not even a drop in the pond.
They don't know that they're the heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. They don't even know they're the heirs. But their truth center is telling them something's not right. Because since when have they ever given you anything? Never. Because they don't have anything to give.
Right.
So why now? If they just start looking at that, just look at why now? Why now? Why didn't your mother or your grandmother get that? Why now? All they got to do is wake up and open their eyes. And I'm talking about wake up out of the bed and open their eyes. I'm not even talking about like the spiritual way. All they got to do is look with the two eyes and see something ain't right.
Right.
We love them, and we're just so excited that we get to tell them the great news.
Right.
I love it.
So we need to be dropping gold nuggets everywhere to help assist, wake them up.
Everywhere. And see, that's another reason why, the ancestors know we're excited. So they ground us for a little while and say, okay, get you some more information first before you run and tell the good news. So that you're competent when you speak. Yeah.
I just wanted to put that on your plate this evening.
Yes, Empress, thank you so much. You and I can dine at any time, Empress, because you're a great cook. You're a great cook.
Thank you.
Indeed. I'm excited for us. I'm excited for our brothers and sisters that will be asking questions about, and see, all of them, and this is one thing we know, all of them are going to be looking at where do they get resources from if they're not using that prior system. We have the joy of telling them the system itself is not a bad system. It's just you got to change who's governing it by the documentation and by your demonstrations. So it's all good. We have some beautiful times ahead of us. Just for that reason. Oh, it's gonna be such a party, y'all. It's just I'm already partying in my spirit. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Because even when you hear them talk, most people, I don't think a lot of people has even awakened to the point that they realize that the people runs the government and not the so-called government officials.
Right. No corporation and no fake foreign fiat and all of that. We're not mad at them. We're not mad at anybody. But it's our time now. So here we go.
Right. Thank you.
Islam.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Islam, Empress.
Empress Sasha would like to get back in from the comments. But so this restated Gosal DeLorean, is that going to be sent out via email to everybody who already has the DeLorean?
You all can put gold receipt in purple and gold on your DeLorean at any time.
Okay. So
it's not necessary. But those who receive DeLorean after a certain point will get that, because we're just going to be forwarding it from our email once we look over each one and put it on the front and back. We started that process today, just putting this on here. This is the back, and then on the front putting the series, because this is our first series, so it's A1 2023. Then it'll be A1 2024, and then on our national documents we will switch over on March 21st for everything, for all of our national documents. So again, we just want to honor the different jurisdictions. Islam,
the serial number is only for the public works, not our private instruments.
You can use it on your private instruments too. You can.
I do not know how to, at this point, put that on the deliriums that I have because I'm unable to edit it with the systems that I have available to me.
Okay.
Instruments that I'm using.
So when we get this put on to all of them over the next few days, we'll just email it out to those who would like it.
Okay, grateful, gratitude.
Yeah, but we also wanted to be sure first, and that all Moors know that you have the authority to put this on your own delirium. That's going to be even the one that's going to be going out for the public works. You have the authority to put this on there. Gold receipt, and then AA 222141 Series A1 2023, and ensuring that when the fiscal calendar switches, we will change it to 2024, which will be in October. So what we're doing right now is just keeping up with the fiscal events and the fiscal calendar. Why are we doing that? Because we're getting ready to implement whole budgets on government activity, and appropriations is a part of that, and the calendar is a part of that as well, and each time we do something publicly, we're going to you all will know first before the public even knows. That's what these congressional assemblies are for. September is going to be huge month, but even right now is huge, just because we have gotten to this point. I mean, think about what we were thinking 5 years ago about how are we going to pay for everything, how are we going to do this, how are we going to do that, and now we know. Because we came together and voted, and we came together and hashed it out and talked about it and asked questions and got each other's wisdom and all of that. And now we see why it was important for us, for the timing to be perfect on this. So, and if you'll notice in the chat when we talked about Noble Phoenix, when you asked about where are people getting their gold from, everyone who has either sovereign credits or fiat is turning it over because they already know. And the fiat, there's only a certain amount of time that they have to convert all of that to gold. And after that, it's not going to be accepted anymore for that conversion. And the only reason it's being accepted now is because in anticipation of what has happened here. And in the chat even, Belinda put different places where people are getting gold from. So if you have fiat or you have sovereign credits, and in our case sovereign credits, and you want to flip it over and get you some gold, go by all means do that. By all means, pawn shops, online, Amazon, get you some gold coins or something of that nature. Even if they're mixed with other metals and not completely 100% pure gold, just still get you some gold. If you choose to. But again, heirs, we're going to be, the government we have our gold. Delarium is our gold, but that doesn't mean we're going to, not pick up a few coins here and there. We'll pick up a few gold coins here and there. However, whatever the ancestors impress on us to do, we'll do it. I'm trying to ensure that I get to all of the questions in the chat. Let's see. And I'm really kind of a little bit behind on that. Let's see. There's no link to these, Delarium. We're going to link them when we complete all of them. So, and we'll make it available at our either Sunday or Thursday after our fast. Let's see. I think we got all the questions, the relevant ones. And when I say relevant, you know, the subjects put things in there. For purchase. There's a question that says, can we use Delarium for purchasing equipment to process IDs, licenses, etc.? You can if you can demonstrate that. The way that we're doing things, and we're moving into this now, is that we've created the bond, and what we do is a lien, a levy, and a bond, and we don't necessarily have to make a new bond. We can use the bond that we put on the $666 trillion bond that we put on the public record, and we're notifying all, you know, whomever at the territories, and then using any sovereign credits that we have to get the equipment to process IDs and licenses and things. So you can demonstrate the bond process, or you can use any sovereign credits that you may have. So people talk about fiat. We don't use fiat because all of that. We just did a termination of corporate contracts on all of that, and now anything that we swipe a card for or that we write a check for is coming from sovereign credits. And as you all know, I'm actually in the process of demonstrating. I'm going to be demonstrating checks and my merchant card here shortly. Depending, I may not need to do it from anything that's been nationalized. I may just do it from our bank. You know, we have to keep moving regardless. We already see what's happening with the money, the banking, and it wasn't real money and it wasn't real banking. So we have the real money. We are the real banks. And so we're just going to continue moving forward and demonstrating, because that's how we do. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom?
Islam.
Empress.
You did not say levy. Can you go a little bit into that?
Yes, levy. The levy process is a very simple 2-page process. The levies that we issue are internal revenue levies. So we're not the Internal Revenue Service, we are the Internal Revenue, which has more authority than the IRS, and I put that in air quotes because they're not real. So I'll just show you what a levy looks like. I just did a couple of them yesterday. I'll pull this one up and see. So let's see. Yep, this is a levy. So this that you see on the screen is an internal revenue levy done by our government. And as we are all aware, we are the state fiduciaries. So when we say creditor, Pauline Ritchie, Internal Revenue Fiduciary Trustee Attorney, in fact, for Puget Sound Energy, the creditor is actually the people by way of Puget Sound Energy and the Internal Revenue. which is us. And so all we do with these is we take the tax ID number and restate it to be the creditor number. And we went over this process. We restated the logo for the internal revenue, for our internal revenue, because in reality, this is an indigenous logo. Okay, as are most of the logos. And all they did was corporatize, quote unquote. They enacted corporatizing all the logos. So we just nationalized everything. And then the debtor is listed as Puget Sound Energy Corporation, knowing that Puget Sound Energy is not a corporation, it's a public work. And that's why we know that we are the Internal Revenue Fiduciary Trustee Attorney, in fact, for Puget Sound Energy. In other words, we are Puget Sound Energy. There was some actors pretending to be Puget Sound Energy, but they were really just a dead corporation. So with the tax levies, this is seizure of the service, the works. It says this is notification that all, let me go back one time. In 2018, we did a lien on the quote-unquote United States Corporation Company, the debtors, the dead ones. That lien, we perfected that lien around that time, back in 2018. So then in 2019, shortly after that, they started preparing to shut everything down. Okay. So we're holding them to that. It is a tax. The liens that we issue are taxes, just like all liens have always been a tax. So what we're saying here is this is notification that all property, to include electronic and intellectual property previously claimed by the said debtor, and all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and derivatives are hereby levied to the creditors stated above. And the creditors is the Internal Revenue, which is our bank. That's our accounting department. Okay, and our accounting department is us. That's why we do these public works like this. So that's not saying that I, as an individual, am the creditor, even though that's true. We all are. It's saying that the public, the people, the Internal Revenue, the real one, is the creditor. And we are also Puget Sound Energy. It says, as of August 3rd, 2018, which is when we did the lien and put it on the public record, we have not received the overdue tax payment after sending several notices. And we've put notice after notice after notice after notice on the public record. Because the stated validated debt has not been paid, which is past due, we have levied, seized, all property previously claimed by debtor and all rights to property. The creditor stated above is the original creditor. So Puget Sound Energy is all of us. The Internal Revenue is all of us, and that's why record keeping became so important in all that we do. And so now it says here, the amount past due, 100 million in gold United States dollars or Swiss francs for each Moorish American national for the Moorish American National Trust, pursuant to Article 3, United States Court Action, Universal Commercial Code 1 lien affidavit dated August 3rd, 2018, identifier number MACW CAUSE 15. So if you go back and look at on Light Tajiri Bay channel, we placed that lien on the public record. That was one of the first. That was actually the very first video that we did. We did that video in December showing the lien process. It says here, whereas debtors are notwithstanding, due to stated debtors' inability to pay the stated debt, all property to include email addresses and all other accounts are hereby placed in the possession and custody of and for the original indigenous ancient sovereign people who are the United States for America, possessing custodians and their internal revenue, or revenue, which means move it from a fake court to a real court. And in reality, we didn't move it because it was fiction, so we just created it anew. This congressional affidavit is effective immediately upon all debtors, agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any and all derivative debtors thereof. Our honor, and then Pauline Denise Ritchie, fiduciary trustee attorney in fact, internal revenue. The difference between a lien and a levy: a lien is stating that is ours, that the electricity is ours. The dams that were previously running or running, all of that belongs to the Moors. So the lien says that's ours. The levy says we're taking it. So now all of that is in our possession. And so what we do from this point is, now that we have the electricity and the energy in our possession, because it was in our possession really since time immemorial, but we had to do the lawful process first and then the legal process. And so now that it's in our possession, all we do is we've issued the bond, and then what we do where electricity is concerned is each month we can send Delarium for the statement that comes, because there's a statement that comes. That statement needs to be restated by us, and then we put the Delarium with it, because again, we're doing accounting. Fiat was not real money. It was enacting being a unit of measure. Okay? And so now we're doing the unit of measure and all of that. So each month we can send Delarium in with a restated statement. That's why they call it a statement. In other words, whose state or estate is speaking with that. And so that's what these levies are about. Now this is page 1 of the levy. Page 2 of the levy just states in accounting terms what we stated above, both according to accounting and then here according to the law. 31 United States Code 1501. It states that with proper documentation, all entitlements are the responsibility of the government. Okay, and we know that we're the government. It also states here Title 12, United States Code 95A Part B2, which we've restated, that says that anything that has to do with courts, entitlements, payments, transfers, assignments made to or for the United States or as otherwise directed by this competent court, those things shall be full acquittance and discharge or tendered payment and marked paid in full for all entitlements issued hereby. So full acquittance and discharge, that should have been going on in the first place. However, the trick bag with the discharge and the full acquittance piece is that Moors were in the past trying to discharge debt, and we cannot discharge debt. We're not debtors, so how can we move debt around? No, we're creditors, so we actually discharge credit. We move the credit around. That was the trick bag. And then we also stated the Constitution for the United States, Article 1, Section 9. Money shall be paid from the Treasury in alignment with national appropriations made by law. And then we quoted the Biblios, Romans, the 13th chapter, verse 6. And you can look that up in its entirety, but it states if taxes are owed, pay the taxes. If revenue, then revenue the whatever it is. Well, you have to have a court in order to revenue anything. And then in Job, the 32nd chapter, verse 21, it says that we accept no man's person. And we put all of that there as well. And then page 3 is just our stamps and seals. So this is a complete levy from start to finish. And then what we do is we send this levy to the Treasury, Internal Revenue, Ogden, Utah. That's the land treasury. Okay, that's the real internal revenue. Okay.
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
Might you open the call, please? Nate's trying to get in.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Islam, and is this in the link on the video or just in this video?
We put this under the videos as well, but this is what we would encourage you to do, because sometimes, depending on your operating system, the link may not work for you specifically. And when I say you specifically, I mean anyone specifically. So what we would encourage you to do is take a screenshot of it and then write it up for you. It's just a 2-page document.
I caught the screenshot for the first page, but not the second page. That's why I was asking.
So this is the second page right here.
Okay, let me grab that.
And then let me know when you get it so I can scroll down a little further.
Okay, all right.
Scroll up a little further if you could, so we can see the whole part of page 2, please.
Yeah, this is the top of page 2.
2. Okay. You can go on to the next one, please.
And then this is the bottom of page 2.
Okay.
Here, let me make this bigger. That's 1 moment.
Islam, Empress. I'm so glad you went over this. I've been stuck on this and scratching my head and doing all kinds of stuff. I'm so glad you went over this. Islam.
Islam.
Would you mind smaller how it was? That actually worked for me. Because everything fit on one page. Just
it's trying. Stop it. Okay, just a moment, Empress. There it is. That's all. That's it in total.
Okay. All right. Thank you. 1 moment.
Oops. There it is.
Okay.
Islam.
And then
now,
that's it right there, right? That's the whole.
That's the whole thing, except it just says attorney, trustee, fiduciary, trustee, attorney, and back internal revenue. See, we've always been the internal revenue because we're the court. So, Moors, please know that all Moors have the authority to do what I'm showing here on the screen. You are the internal revenue. We are the court for the land. And this is what the Sultan was trying to do in 1906. He was trying to tax the corporations because they were not following the Constitution. And there needed to be a way to do that. And then we use our system, and that's why we send it to the land internal revenue. And here I'll show you again the address, the mailing location for the land internal revenue. I've sent things to them, and it's 5 words. It says Treasury at the top, and then it'll say Internal Revenue, and then it says Ogden, Utah. And without fail, it gets there very quickly.
Much gratitude. Thank you so much.
Islam. So this is how you lien and then take possession. Now, as we do this, it's going to help each one of us individually, because it just so happens that this is the company, or not company because they're not even a real company, but this is the corporation, the previous corporation, quote unquote, for this territory. Okay. So it's going to help every Moor who demonstrates, and this is the key to all of this, Moors. As we do these demonstrations and then we teach the process, or show or share the process rather, with other Moors, whether they be at our territory or not, the ones that are at our territory, as they demonstrate, this is going to assist them.
When you get your Land Rover, I'll quit interrupting your calls, Pauline.
To assist them
get your Land Rover and I'll quit.
It's always going to assist them as we continue demonstrating, So Moors who are at this territory, and see, they may not even know that all of this was done. They may not even know that all of this was done, but because they're standing anyway and declaring who they really are, things are going to move a lot very smoothly for them. Their way will
Show
be
yourself buying groceries in the store with the large.
So here now, Noble Phoenix says, "Do I have to pay to put things on the record?" No, that was Sasha L. "Do I have to pay to put things on the record, seeing that I'm using the mailing process?" No, we don't pay to put things on the record. What we do is we notify them by using our mailing process that the government is speaking, and either they can update their records, or whether they update because see, they really don't have records either. That's the thing. Our records are the true records. Their records were never true. Okay. Justice Akil, should we listen to what you're talking about?
Oh, sorry.
No, we were just listening.
No, it's the headphones. Every time I'm not paying attention, somehow I make a move and then it turns the microphone on.
Yeah, Islam. So, the Moors that are coming now, their way is going to be easier just because they're standing and because of the work that's been done. And really, that was where my heart was and where my heart is with regard to this work is making it so that they don't have to keep going through the stuff that they've been going through, because the system has been properly proclaimed and stated by all of us, so we can all breathe a little easier regarding our heirs and their heirs and their heirs and their heirs. There was a question in the chat. With regard to recording, we just notify. We send the mailing and we update our records and publish. That is correcting the record. So you would notify the subjects in the office of county court or county clerk. All you do is mail it to them. You don't send them any fiat. And then if you want to send them delarium to put it in the record, send them some delarium and a copy of the bond, or a lien or something. And then, because see, the system is ours. It's our system. Our job, our responsibility is just to speak to it properly and competently and peacefully. What is a Swiss franc? A Swiss franc is Swiss francs. And the way that our ancestors set it up, a lot of our ancestors who are here spoke French. That's what the Louisiana Purchase was all about. A lot of our ancestors spoke French. And so whenever you would franc something, that means it was free. So even at the post office, we could autograph a document and it will go through. We've talked about that process. We showed it to you briefly in the codes for the post office. We elevated that to the law. I've not done that one yet because I saw no need to do it, just because our process has been working so well, and where records are concerned, my record keeping is better because of the process that we showed in the video. So I've not used the Swiss francs process yet. But here's the thing about the Swiss francs process. Whenever we use Swiss francs for anything, a Swiss franc is nothing more than a stamp that says this is paid for in gold by the Universal Postal Union. That's what Swiss francs are. And you can look in the postal codes to see that. We did a Congressional assembly on that about probably 7 or 8 months ago about Swiss francs and how Congress members, and all Moors are Congress members, especially those who are participating in Congress, because participation is necessary, Congress can sign where the stamp would be. We can autograph that and put Congress member, and it'll go through the mail, or either we could put Swiss franc, with our autograph, and again we showed that in the mailings. So, and then when you look at the Constitution for the bank, the Swiss bank, know this about the Swiss banking system. That's the system that was previously enacting selling U.S. dollars to other nations. That was their enactment. They would auction off the dollars to other nations. That's what the Swiss bank, quote unquote, was enacting. And not only that, but when you look at their constitution, the constitution for the banking system as a whole, that constitution was enacted being held at the Swiss bank. And Article 99 states that a certain percentage of the Swiss bank inventory for money has to be in gold. Article 99 of the Swiss bank constitution. So those who want to know more about banking, you will want to read through that constitution. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I get through the yes, Noble Phoenix, that's some good stuff you put in there about the state of mind and a statement being a compound word. Beautiful. Let's see. Yes, Empress Sasha L. says that from what she has read, as soon as it's received, they're supposed to put it on the public record. Yes, in reality, once they receive it, and it's not even once they receive it, once we create it and send it and hand it to the post office is agent for everyone, all nations, all people, everything. The post office is the agent. And notice to agent is notice to principal, notice to principal is notice to agent. But when you get it to the post office and put it in the deposit box, because see, we don't have to speak to the retail people. That's the commerce people. Those are the retail folk. We don't have to speak to them. We just deposit it in the deposit box because that's an account. And then when you do that, once it's received in that deposit box, then all parties are notified at law. Indeed. Empress Malaya, were you able to get back in? Apologies, Empress Malaya. That was my fault. I did that. I was trying to mute the other, that other one.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me know in the chat. I apologize, Empress. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what I meant, but Sister Sasha L said that's some heat. So
yes,
someone can fill me in later.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom? Did I miss any questions in the chat? Because there's quite a bit in there. Islam.
Just a thought. When you were mentioning the Swiss francs and the fact that it was a gold unit or something to that effect, it brought to my mind, you know what? There's no reason, because I know that when the foreign governments, they have their own stamp. Okay? Not that we're foreign, but they're foreign to us. And they're always honored. So on their stamps, they can put of Her Majesty's Service, OHMS, and those stamps go through. And I'm just wondering, well, is there any reason we could not create our own government stamp that is gold backed, et cetera, that is always recognized, so we don't have to go through this issue that we're going through with some of the individual post offices? Okay? So it's a stamp that's automatically recognized. It has a gold dollar value already attached, or $50 or $25. It's still worth more than the stamps because it's backed by gold. And I'm wondering, can we not just do that through our Congressional Assembly?
And so the answer to your question is yes. The only reason we haven't done it is because of what we just announced today regarding the gold coming in, by way of us governing the processes. See, once that gold starts coming in, then anything that has to do with gold anywhere, we can do all of that, and it will absolutely be honored. We got to do the work, and it's already honored. We could do that today, because again, our gold has been since time immemorial. Our ancestors wanted us to get to the point where we're actively governing the gold, the silver, the processes, everything. So yes. That was something that I put on the back burner because I was going to present that. We did come up with stamps of our own that we're using for this process. So I said, let's do that until we get a little further into the process, to where we are now. We can begin to put our own stamps on things, but we the Congress must agree on what those stamps look like, or what they say, or whatever, how they're presented. And once we put the process on the public record, then the subjects will know how to honor what we state. Whenever we put processes on the public record, then the honoring, they just look at what we stated and they say, okay, that's how they want it done. Let's do it that way. Like they did with the mailing process and everything else that we state. Some of the things that we put on the process, it may take them a little bit longer, sometimes a couple of days longer, but okay. It's all good. Because it won't be, and the response time from the system is a lot quicker now than it was in 2017. For that, we are so grateful. What we've placed on the screen, Noble Phoenix, you asked about Swiss francs. The Swiss National Bank was as close to enacting a true national bank in that whole Kabuki theater piece. Article 99 is what we were stating earlier of their constitution. It's really just monetary policy enactments. But it says exclusive right to coin money and to issue banknotes. Monetary policy which serves the general interest of the country. Let me go to that. Let me open up the whole thing so you can see what we were talking about with regard to the gold. This is Article 99 of the Federal Constitution for the Swiss National Bank. They were enacting being the national bank for the whole earth and for the whole, banking system, quote unquote. Money and currency are a federal matter. The Confederation shall have the exclusive right to coin money and to issue banknotes. As an independent central bank, the Swiss National Bank shall follow a monetary policy which serves the general interest of the country. It shall be administered with the cooperation and under the supervision of the Confederation. The Swiss National Bank shall create sufficient monetary reserves from its profits. A part of these reserves shall be held in gold. At least 2/3 of the net profits of the Swiss National Bank shall be credited to the cantons, and the cantons are they're like townships for poor people, basically.
And actually, I only questioned what the Swiss franc was because of the way it was worded, spelled.
Yeah. Yes.
And I did not recognize that as Swiss that I'm used to seeing as WISS.
Yes.
I questioned it.
Yeah.
I don't. What is it? What is a sou franc?
Yes. 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 Ooh, I'm so glad you asked that one too, or put that on the record too. Suis or Swiss means self, and franc means free. We have freed ourselves. Ta-da! And that's why when we say impropria persona sui juris, it's the same word. I love the language. It's very beautiful. Yes, indeed. So, and that was something our ancestors I was levitating that day when they showed us that that's really what that means. Because I know in my spirit and in my knower and by way of my my ancient English that my ancestors spoke French. Other languages also, not exclusively French, but French to a great degree, just because of the way my ancient English manifests and the things that I understand and understand. And you all will know what your ancestors spoke when you start writing ancient English according to what your heart says. But when your heart says, so if you were rewriting this paragraph right here and you said close your eyes and you say it is my desire to express this in ancient English, and then you started writing, and then your spirit would say, instead of spelling monetary with a Y, spell it with the IE. And then you spell it with the IE. And then as you go through that, and then when you finish writing this whole thing and you look back at it, you will notice that your spellings resemble a specific language, whether it be Latin, Spanish, French, Italian, or whatever. You will know what's in your blood by how the Spirit speaks to you about how to spell things. So that is why ancient English is so valuable and important as our national language, is because it doesn't have to look the same or be spelled the same for any of us, because we speak by bloodline and birthright. And whatever our ancestors spoke is what's in our blood, and that's what will come out of our spirit as we spell, because we are spellers. Spell breakers and spell casters. Islam nobility.
I have a few questions. One question is for my trust, and if I wanted to create a bank out of my trust, will I need a constitution and a charter for it?
Yes.
Okay. Second question.
Yes.
For the series, for the DeLorean, can I make it any series that I choose for with my bank and trust together?
Whose trust is it?
It's my trust. It would be like a family trust that I make for my family.
Okay, so can you do that?
Yeah. Yes, it's long. Oh, last question. For the part where it said, what was it? Because you had the bill up. It was the box that was on the left side. Wouldn't gold receipt number. Can you explain that part to me?
Yes. So we're going to be keeping records of the gold receipts that we issue, so we know how much our treasury is issuing every month or every week. So as you issue gold receipts, you're going to assign, each receipt has its own serial number, okay? You're going to assign those serial numbers based first on, the first number of the serial number should be the number for your Federal Reserve District, okay? And let me just show you really quickly what that looks like. So that we know who's issuing what and where it's coming from. So this is a Federal Reserve District map that tells you what the districts are. Oops. This map is backwards. It's backwards. It actually should be, so they said that this is 12, this is actually 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the way the district should be. See, they turned everything backwards and upside down, essentially. And so your serial number for your Delarium, the gold receipt number, the first number is always going to be according to this map turned backwards. So for us, ours is going to be 01. All of our Delarium will start, the gold receipt number will be 01 and then a series of numbers after that, which we can discuss prior to beginning this process. In fact, we'll talk about it Sunday if you all desire to talk about it Sunday, and set a sequence in place so that we know where Delarium is coming from. So anyone who's holding Delarium, we should be able to trace that Delarium back to who issued it, okay, based on these numbers, based on the fact that the serial number will start with any of these numbers, depending on the district that you're at, you know. And so, and then we're going to add some numbers after that further specify where we are, you know, because the more's at your territory, at New York Territory, because undoubtedly, for example, you're at New York Territory, undoubtedly there will be other Moors who will be doing public works there. And yes, all of you, your Delarium will start with a certain number. So we will know that, okay, this came from the New York district. But now, who in the New York district issued it? So then, from there, we could do it where the next 5 numbers is a zip code. So for us, it would be 0198023. That way you will know exactly where the Delarium came from according to my receipt number. And then even after that, add 6 or 7 more numbers after that. So the serial number can be up to 13 digits. We just gave you the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the first 8 digits, 9, 10, 11, 12. That leaves 5 other digits. That would be perfect, 13 digits for that number.
Islam, I affirm. Because when you stated that, I was like, that makes most logically sense.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Empress. And again, this is backwards, so we have to. We'll put our own up. If anyone wants to do this and then have it ready for Sunday, you can do that. Just take the numbers and switch them around. This is going to be 1, like we just stated. 1, 11 is 2, 10 is 3, 9 is 4, and so on and so forth, so that we know what the districts are and what the serial numbers. Islam, Noble Phoenix.
As a suggestion, I would even go so far as to say you can leave the zoning as it is, but just reassign all the numbers starting from like 13 or 14, or just starting with 14. And the reason being is, I just don't even like the idea of following what the dead corporation did in that regard, because I just don't. There's something in my spirit is just saying no, not to use their numbers the way that they had them. Even if you rearrange their numbers, let's use our own set of numbers to distinguish it completely, so there's no mistaking it's related or somehow we're trying to copy them or mimic them. No, they set the standard. Now we're going to innovate and create our own. Is my humble opinion. All right. I'm gonna just leave it right there, and we can think about that and discuss that later.
Well, I'll express right now what we've always been stating. They didn't come up with this system. Even the one they were using, they didn't come up with it.
I agree. I know that they didn't, but again, it's kind of like using the swastika. The swastika today is not what it was in antiquity, and they were not the ones. The Germans were not the ones who come up with it. That was an ancient peace symbol, and that was on this planet for thousands of years, long before the Germans were ever heard of.
Well, it was just backwards. It was backwards.
And they gave it such a bad reputation that now when people see it, that's all they can see. All right? And so
Noble Phoenix, we're the only ones who have those feelings about that stuff. Everybody else knows what it is. Everyone else knows what it is. Everyone else knows. We were the only ones who didn't remember. So when we turn it around and use it for what it really is, they're going to know that we're competent and that we recognize our science, because that's ours.
Okay. I'm going to respectfully disagree with that statement.
Islam. It's just like, for example, I'll just use the pride flag. That was actually the rainbow promise that we weren't going to go back into lost at sea status. Yeah. Not only that, it also signified diversity among the nations. So do we chunk it just because it was corrupted? We chunk the one they were using, but we use ours because that's our science. And here's the thing. As we properly proclaim our own science, they're going to stop using everything. That's what you're seeing now. And then in a few years, it's going to be like they were never here. Because all our stuff is going to be back like it was in ancient times. And then we're going to keep rising and rising to the point where the pyramids the tips of them start activating and carrying on again, because they're really already activating. Then we're going to start traveling in and out and all. Listen, but see, our stuff, we have to take, our stuff has to be properly stated because it's a part of the systems that accomplish the goals that we set for ourselves.
Islam. For clarity's sake, the part that I respectfully disagree when you say everybody knows, and I'm thinking about, no, everyone does not know that swastika was here for 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 years before these, modern day Germans. And everybody does not know that. And that's what I mean by I respectfully disagree with that. And that's what I was talking about. No, everybody does not know that.
That's fair for you to say that everybody does not know. That's fair.
Yeah.
Just know that there's only two sets of beings running around that earth talking about I'm human, I'm human, I'm human. And the one set is us. We thought we were human. And the other is the modern Europeans. Now, which one of those groups didn't know
that they were not human? That would have been
no. Which one of those groups didn't know about the swastika or the flag? Which one didn't know?
Truthfully, that would have been most of us that were asleep, in our sleep. Right? But, I mean, a lot of the Europeans didn't know. That's my point. They didn't know that.
Don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. They're actors. Do not let them fool you. Don't let them do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't let them fool you. They know where they came from. Their history was not hidden. They actually enacted being the custodians of our history, not the other way around. And then they enacted feeding their history in to those who were not from that history. They knew, though. All of them know. And the moment you say to them, stop acting like you don't know, they'll stop acting like they don't know. They'll be like, okay. All of them, I don't care if it's the next door neighbor, because they all know they weren't here. Not even 200 years ago, they were not here. Contrary to what we've been told.
I will most definitely look forward to experiencing that, because I've not experienced that as yet. So
just open your mouth and it will happen.
I'm gonna wait and see when I experience that. I'll report back.
Indeed. We have done it. And it's almost like you flip the switch, the off switch, and they went back to subject status. Stop acting like you don't know who we are. Because how do you come to somebody's land and that's all you saw when you got here, but you can't remember who they are? No, that's not how that works. So with that being stated, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom regarding any of the things that we have spoken about? And this 5-pointed star that says board here on here, the board was actually at San Francisco territory and Seattle territory in ancient times. And the reason they were at these two places was because those two places were considered one. All of this down here, or up here rather, was considered Oregon territory. All of it. And then they parsed it out some more. So, but they still use a 5-pointed star to indicate that the board is ancient. 1 5-pointed star. With that being stated, I have nothing further for this holy, eternal Congress And if there be nothing further, we will, please don't forget the fast that starts on Sunday, the 3-day fast that starts on Sunday, or you can start it on Saturday, so that you can enjoy your kin on the 4th of July. All of that is our independence, by the way. All of that is our independence. We've always been independent. We just celebrated during these time periods, the beginning of the month of July. If there be nothing further, we will adjourn here, and then we will reconvene on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. May your way be easy. May all that you touch turn to gold. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
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 Grand rising.
Islam. Grand rising.
Islam is peace and prosperity.
Islam.
Grand rising.
Indeed.
Peace and prosperity.
Islam.